So guys, hello and welcome to 7.2.5. This one is a very strange quest in my opinion. There was sort of two ways you could go. You could go with one easy path, which began with Spider-Man Miles Morales, which has Rage, Power Shield, Hurt Locker on. So obviously you've got the Hurt Locker, avoid the same special attack in a row. Power Shield, you take your special damage to 400%. Increase, but you take no damage from, or you do no damage from basic attacks, and Rage, where the most they can take is 2.5% from one hit. But if it's reached, then they get one Fury, and then they go permanently unblockable if those Furies reach 5. However, I took the Superiority path, which is path E. I found this one a lot more fun. I love the Superiority paths, so I went with this one. So in this one, you get Superiority by having being a hashtag villain. So what champs work for this? Well, as you can see on the screen, Null works really well for this one. You've also got Immortal Abomination, Gore, Apocalypse, Doctor Doom, Nimrod, Spot, Omega Red again. You know, you've got all these champs. You just check your tag list and you'll see them come up, who work really, really nicely for this path. And really, how it works is every time a buff on the defender ends, you have 3 seconds to throw a heavy attack or a special attack. And if you do, a Falter gets put on them, and every time they try and hit you, you gain a permanent Fury. So you only gain that permanent Fury if you're a villain. If not, you get a Fury, but only for 6 seconds. So obviously, taking in a villain, making them miss, say, get up to 10 Furies, absolutely wipes them out. And then if you miss this timer, so for example, if say I'll do it in this fight, I guarantee it. I'm pretty sure it's right here. I don't manage to get it off in time. Oh, I do. But if you don't throw your heavy attack or your special attack in time, you then get the falter and you can miss them. But there's no sort of negative from missing them. Chances are you just get hit like I did. They don't gain Furies or anything like that. And then obviously these Furies can stack up. They also got Overload, so they get armor and regeneration every 20 seconds. So that can work in your favor to get the falters and gain up those Furies. As you can see, I did in this Nebula fight. So this definitely takes a couple of attempts. I'll say that for sure. It is definitely one that you have to get used to. I think I had to refresh maybe once or twice for this one, just because it was one of those where I didn't quite, you have to play a certain way really, and I didn't quite get into that certain way until I'd had a few attempts. So it does take a couple of goes of getting used to it. Villains are obviously you want to take in as many villains as possible. I also brought in Professor X just because he's a miscounter, and as you know from my recent videos, I just ranked 3'd him, so I sort of wanted to continue playing him. But yeah, the key is to sort of let them hit into you, get that falter, get those Furies, and then build them up by every falter, and obviously then you can do quite a lot of damage with, say, 15 Furies built up. You'll do, an absolute ton. So good villains for these are just really anyone who's tagged as a villain. My favourite was Null. Get him to that SP3. He just does an absolute ton of damage while they're corrupted. But like I said, anyone can work for this. There aren't too many difficult fights. You've got the Nebula at the start, who gets quite a lot of buffs. And then you also have, I believe this Cyclops was quite annoying a couple times, where he would he would lose that precision buff, and I wouldn't really be aware of it. But if you're always aware, if you see that approaching falter, it means you have 3 seconds to throw a heavy or to throw a special attack, and then you get you put that falter on them and get those extra Furies. So this one is a lot of fun. I definitely recommend doing it, because if you've got lots of villains, like I've got Ultron, I've got Immortal Abomination, and I've got null, then it does work really well. It is a lot of fun and is definitely worth sort of your time and getting used to playing in this certain way. So that is it really for the nodes and good champions to use for those nodes. Then we'll jump into the boss fight. There are 2 bosses, or there are obviously 3 bosses for this one. However, 2 of the bosses you can choose between. There is Dragon Man, there is Deadpool, and there is Void. So I know Void is a little bit more tricky. He is somebody who is probably that little bit more difficult to face. However, I saw on YouTube quite a few easy paths say Dragon Man is a bit easier. However, I felt that because I had Warlock, Deadpool was probably the best fight for me, just because I was able to deal with his constant regeneration. And then in that fight, there wasn't actually too much that made Deadpool a difficult fight. So obviously we'll get to the Deadpool fight at the end, but however we'll go over the Dragon Man nodes, because this one was a little bit. This was the one that I didn't play, so it's easier to go for it now. Check what he had and see who was pretty good. So the nodes that he had were Empowered Immunity, Extend, and Stun and Reflection. So every time he would have a stun shield on, every time you would stun him, that stun would be reflected, but then the stun would go on cooldown. So you want Power Control champs, and to really play around his stunning reflection. Good champs for this one was She-Hulk, Human Torch, Luke Cage, as they're all champs who don't put on that any debuffs, which is good because that Empowered Immunity is the node where if they receive a debuff they're immune to, they generate a third of their bar of power. So really you don't want to be putting any debuffs on them. So like I said, a Luke Cage, a She-Hulk. Human Torch works because obviously Dragon Man I don't think is Incinerate immune. I don't know that for sure, but I don't believe he is off the top of my head. Void also works quite well, as does Sunspot. But for the Deadpool fight, we will jump into that in a mo. So I'll see you on that node. So we're at the Deadpool fight. Welcome back. The Deadpool has sort of 3 nodes. He's got Duke, so this is the one where if you end on the same ending combo, you lose your Furies. If you end on different ones, you get a Fury. You build a Fury. So really, the way I found easiest to play this was 1, take Warlock in, because Warlock, Guillotine both work quite nicely to heal block him, but you definitely have to heal block, otherwise he'll basically take all his health back up again. You want to alternate your 5-hit combos to get those passive Furies. Also debuffs, because he has the Smorgasbord node, where if you put a debuff on him, he purifies it. If he gets over 10, he degens. If he gets under 10, he regenerates. Obviously with Warlock, that's not an issue, because Warlock's infected will cover that and will just power drain him. But if you haven't got Warlock, you do need to take in a champ like, say, Guillotine or Nick Fury, just because of the amount of debuffs that he puts on. I'm sure there are plenty of other debuff champs that you can put on him, but yeah, heal block is sort of the mainstay here. And then the Duke is the node where, like I said, you have to end in a different combo. So the way I found this was to start with a medium, light, 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 medium, and then when you end with, and then alternate between them. So then medium, light, 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 light. But when you end with the light, 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 when you end with a light combo, have a special 2 ready for Warlock. And if you don't, dash back straight away, because he can sometimes chuck that SP1 or SP2, whichever he's got saved up, and that will do quite a lot of damage to you. So that's the best way to go. After I do go down, I believe, in this first slot, but then once knowing that I managed to take the fight really easily, keep a lot of my health, and it's not too tricky. So that's really it for this Deadpool. It's a long one because of his regeneration and the fact that you can build up those Furies, but it does take a lot of time. However, it's a pretty good one. It's a good with that superiority. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like below. Please share with your mates if you know that they're also struggling with this one. And I hope you are enjoying these types of videos. The Grand, I think it's Gwynmaster Boss, it will be out as soon as I complete that. I believe hopefully tomorrow or the day after. I'm not 100% yet. But yeah, look out for it on the channel. And I hope these are helping you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.